China has totally outmaneuvered the United States over the last decades. They've taken over our manufacturing base largely. About 50% of the goods that we rely on are made in China now. If you think this is a coincidence, think again. This is Marxist communist theory but being put in motion. Marx talked about how he who controls the means of production is in control of a society, politically and every other way. And so China has had this aim that they've been totally successful at, is taking over the means of production for this country and others so that they can take control of the country. Often they even send their electronics and such with back doors so they can even spy on people. It's been a totally successful strategy to dominating the world in a way that a hot war never could. You talk about the Cold War and how we waged that. They have totally and brilliantly had a strategy where they're taking over without ever firing a shot because economic dominance is far superior to military dominance, which can't be maintained and which is very expensive. Without firing a shot, they've colonized us. This isn't like trade like people think. We're not trading goods with them. We've actually sent our labor over there, which means with every passing moment, with every item that they manufacture, the money that would have gone in U.S. workers' pockets and been spent in this country is going to China now. So they're taking money out of the pockets of regular citizens here and stuffing it in their government treasury. So you think about how there was a time after World War II when most things were being manufactured here, our economy was growing like crazy. But since China's taken over manufacturing, that money that would be in our economy is now there. I mean, it's making a mockery out of everything we did in Vietnam and so on. We're pumping money into the biggest, most frightening communist regime in world history. The worst part of it is we're an unfair advantage with them. We're talking about communists in a collectivist culture against a country with capitalism and more of an individualist culture. And so they can always make decisions that are going to help China in the long run, whereas here, things are very complex. For one thing, we change leaders over and over in a short period of time, so we can never establish a strategy to confront them and keep it long term because we don't have leaders who stay around long term. Another thing is our situation here, it's really corporations that make these decisions. And so companies in China are forced by the government not to make decisions that would hurt China in the long run. Where here, corporations really don't act like individual business owners. Like Henry Ford would never start manufacturing all of his goods in China because he has a sense of patriotism and loyalty to his own culture and society, whereas corporations, by their very nature, they always work to try to maximize their profits, and they sort of have horse blinders on. They're not even going to see that they might have a strategy that makes profit now that might hurt them in the long run, because very much like governments, the CEOs and the people in charge really are like musical chairs. It keeps changing. So we really don't have a way to stand up to them. Well, you wonder, is this sustainable? And I'm going to say it's not, because after a while, if our jobs keep drifting over to China, then who's going to buy the goods that we're getting cheaply here? We're having sort of a downgrading of our society. We're having wealth inequity increasing over time. And it's going to lead to some kind of collapse ultimately. So what's the solution? The solution is we need to start manufacturing our goods here by any means necessary. Corporations, a good thing about them, if I can call it good, is they're not loyal at all. So if we can make it more expedient for them to manufacture in the U.S., they'll start doing it. They're not loyal to China either. So we need to pass laws that give incentives to companies to manufacture here. We need to put pressure as consumers on them by favoring U.S. goods so that the goods that are manufactured in China become expensive in that sense to sell here. One of the good things I know about economics is often there are consequences that are going to go on that nobody can foresee. So as the labor becomes more expensive in China, and it should, because there's no way they can sustain that forever. They've got their own society to manufacture for. There's other customers besides the U.S. that want their labor. So the cost of labor should go up over time. But the main thing as U.S. citizens we have to favor U.S. goods if we want this to change. And we need to do it now. And we need to put pressure on the government to act. Because just trying to coerce people, like I remember President Trump called a CEO of a company and personally request the man, hey, keep these jobs here. But the man ignored him, basically, in the long run, because corporations just don't act like people. And I think people don't understand that. Business owners would have a sense of compassion even. They might even care about their employees, but corporations really are almost like robots. They have sort of a cold kind of impersonal feel to them because it's not the way they operate. They don't operate like an individual business owner would. Things look bleak, but I'm really confident that if we take action now, we can get out from under this. But in the long run, if we don't, we're headed for really worse times. If we can't step up to China's challenge and start swinging things in another direction, we could end up like a third world country without us even realizing it's happening.